Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Propagandacast with me, ImperialDane, straight from the Propaganda Ministry here in Denmark. And today I have for you a 1 versus 1 on Egletons. Yes, indeed, we'll be having a trip through the French countryside and a slight trip to Egletons. The 1 versus 1 map, heavily urbanized in one side, lots of buildings, a bit of park area, and a bit of everything else, and a lot of resources. In fact, most of the fuel is in the west, whereas in the east there is most of the victory points and a bit more of munitions. But most resources are in the west, but that is also where most of the buildings are. Nonetheless, let us stop gaggling about and let's have a look at our opponents. In the southern corner we are seeing fawkes1. Fawkes, perhaps a Guy Fawkes type, who knows? But nonetheless, here he is. Huzzah, and he shall be fighting for the 706th Bodenständige Grenadier division, and who shall be taking him on? It shall be, my goodness, ImperialDane. Yes, indeed, that dashing chap of the 2nd Infantry Division. And let's get right to it, eh? No reason to muck it about. The Bodenständige Grenadier division were basically some rather low quality grenadier divisions that were basically there to hold certain positions alongside the Normandy coast. They generally didn't have the best of troops nor the best of officers, and they were equipped a bit curiously in terms of artillery. They had a large amount of Russian and French artillery, which of course made things logistically a bit harder to actually supply them with the proper munitions then. Anyhow, we are seeing the Wehrmacht quarters coming up, and from the north we are seeing engineers moving out. Riflemen on the way, barracks, nothing unusual there. Nothing at all curious there. And we are of course seeing a few nice bunkers there. The Germans did have a sort of bunker that could be instantly deployed. I can't remember the name now, but it was a sort of a rather small thing which would basically be tipped into a pre-made trench and then voila, instant machine gun bunker. And they actually had a lot of them. Funny enough, you never actually really hear about them a lot. And what is this? We are seeing some barbed wire being rather hastily laid down here, probably to ensure that I will not use this, which rather signifies that it's probably going to be focusing in this part of the map. Of course, being a slightly more dense urban territory, of course, one player could certainly think that a few MGs and you're certainly going to be holding everything. Of course, at the same time, we are of course also having a lot of dead angles, blind angles, and of course a lot of places where you can sneak through, which of course is going to make it a bit difficult for any players. But we are seeing Volksgrenadiers moving in, taking up positions here, while Pioneers sneak in this fuel point. Riflemen moving in from the north, and we are of course seeing a slight ambush here. And what shall the riflemen ever do? Probably get into that house. And there we go. Nicely fortified inside a building. They'll be able to fire away at those Volksgrenadiers who are out in the open. Getting one Pioneer while they are getting out there, and then getting on with the Volksgrenadiers behind this low stone wall and the barbed wire. The riflemen fire away, and we are seeing some engineers sneaking in through the west and a bit of action in the east. Further Volksgrenadiers arriving at the same time. Further riflemen are moving in from the north as well, currently looking to be to the advantage of the Volksgrenadiers. The riflemen are not in good health, but the Volksgrenadiers are slowly being whittled down, one down so far already. And with further riflemen arriving, this could certainly end up badly for the Volksgrenadiers if their reinforcements do not arrive. And there we go. So now the riflemen will be moving in. Volksgrenadiers taking up position here, but of course this is in a rather perpendicular way to this piece of cover. So of course my riflemen can move in and get close, which will certainly be to their advantage, and get some good shots off at those Volksgrenadiers up close with support from those riflemen inside the building, although they themselves are not looking too well either. One Volksgrenadier down more, and looks like the further Volksgrenadiers will be quickly going down. There we go, down to 2 men with low health, forced into retreat, leaving behind only this one team of Volksgrenadiers who are to deal with these 6 riflemen, albeit in 2 teams. One is awfully up close. And there we go, another Volksgrenadier down, and there we go, retreating, having lost rather a lot. And I of course quickly get my riflemen out to begin seizing territory, while a fresh and 3rd rifle team arrives to the field. And we are seeing a bit of capturing continuing over here, seizing this high munitions point. Pioneers sneaking in through here to seize the fuel point, while I'm taking this away from the Wehrmacht. Not really keen on them getting any fuel, of course. And Volksgrenadiers getting reinforced. We'll probably be seeing something coming out of this Wehrmacht quarters very soon. And a sniper, in fact, not an MG42. Rather interesting. Fuel point here in the center has been secured. These riflemen might want to consider retreating very soon. Or at least something similar. Looks like the Wehrmacht forces are on the move from the south. Volksgrenadiers and the Sniper Koenig, and looks like these pioneers are not going to end up in a very heavy position, but there we go, retreating. Wehrmacht task force moving in. Scharfschütze and some Volksgrenadier. And they are advancing slowly so far, no engagement, and riflemen taking one down to sniper fire. Volksgrenadiers standing in light cover, but of course the riflemen taking up the heavy cover here. Although this sniper will certainly turn things in the favor of the Wehrmacht forces here. So I'll probably quickly be retreating, and there we go. Volksgrenadiers once more moving to take this point. And looks like my engineers here in the east were forced back. Perhaps to set up a supply yard, rather, figuring this time around that I want some vehicles to get a nasty surprise ready for those Wehrmacht forces. At the same time, I have prepared a medic station up here, figuring that's going to be a bit far away from the Wehrmacht forces and give me a slight advantage in the longer run, I hope. Riflemen getting ready, and Volksgrenadiers going straight for this cutoff point. Of course, I should have retreated my men a bit faster and get them healed up and reinforced, but sadly that's not the case. And now the Volksgrenadiers, having spotted the medic station, are opening up on it. A bit to my problem. And riflemen heading towards the east. Engineers coming under fire, trying to at least keep those Volksgrenadiers occupied a bit. No such luck, as they are getting gunned down and forced retreat. Sniper moving in as well. And the medic station is coming under quite a bit of fire. But riflemen are moving in from the north. And one rifleman team moves in to deal with it, while the other one goes for the cutoff point. And for some reason the riflemen take the long route instead of the more safe approach right through the other side, which costs them rather heavily. There we go, down to one man who barely makes it out of there and gets out of the right side of the door this time around. Again, I have no idea why he chose this route and not this route. Sniper's getting gunned down, and he has uncloaked his sniper, which is a bit of a curious move. But there we go, getting on the other side, of course, to get away from the fire here. The one Volksgrenadier and another goes down to rifle fire. And a jeep is on the way to help with this. At the same time, we are seeing what? A Krieg barracks. Of course, letting us know that he has gone for the skirmish phase. Still holding out against the medic station. Further riflemen are moving in, and riflemen getting sniped. Sniper once more rather uncloaked and getting fired upon. But now the jeep is on the move. Opening up and gunning down this sniper. What is this? Of course, a Panzerfaust. I was not aware of this. A rather light tier 1 start, not necessarily the best thing, and of course, had I got for more riflemen, or perhaps a weapon support standard, this that might have ended up a bit badly for the Wehrmacht commander this time around, though, due to my knee only getting 3 riflemen teams and not really coordinating them properly in the start. At the same time, not getting that motor pool too quickly either. I've sort of shot myself in the foot there. And medic station getting completely gunned down now. Still cut down that sniper, which is going to be a rather heavy loss for him. Those Volksgrenadiers are still standing around there, and of course they are utterly preoccupied taking down that medic station and say, oh, I don't know, taking some of my territory. So there's a slight advantage there, basically one of time. Grenadiers now arriving though, pioneers moving in as well, and these Volksgrenadiers getting caught out in the open. Riflemen moving in from the north, guns blazing. The Volksgrenadiers desperately trying to hold the position. Will they have success? Further riflemen moving in from the north. And riflemen moving in, taking up positions right here in the house, blasting away from the postal office. The Grenadiers have arrived as well now. We might see some grenades soon, I suspect. And the pioneers moving in with the flamethrowers though, forcing one rifleman team to probably get out of there. Yes, indeed, one catches on fire, and the pioneers get into the postal office, forcing a full retreat, while at the same time we are seeing this engineer team quietly securing the entire eastern half of the map. Pack moving out, expecting an armored car. Of course, I haven't gotten around to actually getting it, which is a bit of a curious move on my side. Engineers getting retreated, and I'm going to probably be getting something here. And a weapon support center, rather delayed one. in fact, which is a bit of a risky move. As to the level of my opponent, I can't remember, but I believe it was around 11 or 10, perhaps 12. And we are seeing some barbed wire being laid down here. Not entirely sure why it's left this gap open, as there are no mines. Securing the munitions from this jeep, very good. And there we go, laying down a mine. Although then again, I'm not entirely sure why it's leave the gap there. Perhaps you can see some cover. And riflemen catching these grenadiers out in the open, firing away with all glee and joy. First grenadiers taking up positions right here in the parapet. And we are seeing some first grenadiers and pioneers taking up position in the postal office, but the riflemen are beyond the range of that, and they are in fact flanking about, completely ignoring that and setting up positions here and hitting a mine, a very well placed mine, which in fact killed about 7 riflemen with one blast. That's a very, very good mine there. Jolly good show. And grenadiers charging in. Only one rifleman team to hold them back, and what is coming? A mortar team. And grenadiers coming under a bit of fire, and another grenadier team arriving from the south. Pioneers charging in. Pioneers getting focused down a bit. One might end up badly for these riflemen due to, of course, being in cover and flames and cover not going well together. But no, the pioneers are forced into retreat while the grenadiers take up position in the building, firing away. Engineers with flamethrowers discourage from false grenadiers from their naughty harassment business. While in the south, the grenadiers push on harder. The more solid bits of the Bodenständige Grenadier division, clearly not Osttruppen, who were less than motivated troops of the fatherland, generally recruited from prison camps and whatnot. They were not the most reliable of troops and had a tendency of getting out of there as soon as things got hot, heated up. And we are seeing grenadiers moving in with a Panzerwreck. Of course, he is not aware that I've gone for the mortar and weapon support center, except for now, and of course all those Panzerwrecks won't do much against that. And the mortar team continually misses this grenadier team, rather to my chagrin. False grenadiers hitting a mine, as I do have laid down some myself. Riflemen once more charging out for Uncle Sam. We are seeing a further bit of harassment there. Grenadiers securing this victory point, not running into this mine though. Currently the Wehrmacht positions though are a bit spread out. We are seeing a bit of infantry here and there, and a bit there, but no major positions in fact. And of course, if I were to focus my forces in one spot, then of course I could push through. And looks like someone hit a mine, but I don't know where. But looks like these false grenadiers might hit another one, and there we go. Veterancy 2 already up for this infantry. Riflemen advancing forwards. Grenadiers in heavy cover. Of course, there's a mortar nearby, so that heavy cover might soon become meaningless. And there we go. 2 grenadiers down, and a grenade flying in these riflemen. And my goodness, that was a pretty good grenade. In fact, killing 4 riflemen. A bit rare you see things like that, but still they do happen. Grenadiers, the riflemen, though, pushing on against the German positions. Mortar continuing to fire away. Not looking too well right here, but a BAR upgrade is on the way to increase firepower rather heavily. The Grenadiers and false grenadiers fighting in the ditches against the riflemen, who are also in ditches. Rather fun there. And now the BARs are equipped, and a mortar round lands right amongst these grenadiers, killing quite a bit. And an MG42 opens up on the engineers right in the open with a minesweeper. Of course, haven't gotten a minesweeper since I've seen some rather effective mines from him. I figure there has to be more. Mortar continues to fire in these. We are seeing some pioneers and engineers with flamethrower dueling a bit, and the pack is still standing about. We are also seeing a bunker being set out here. And looks like the engineers lost here. And this, I'll just pause briefly, is not a bad placement of a bunker. Why is that, you curiously ask? Because it's right behind the house. It's a bit harder for me to get to, because of course I have to get around other buildings, of course, which might expose me to more fire. But also in case of artillery, this building is going to be, at least for some time, be able to absorb a lot more fire from the artillery in case of on-map artillery, which is also going to help, of course, for the mortar, which fires on a rather heavily parabolic arc. It's going to be able to fire right over it, so not much there. But against, say, a howitzer or a calliope, this building's going to be worth quite a bit. And let us return now from the viewpoint of the Wehrmacht forces, who have gone for terror. Yes, indeed, terror of the Allied forces to strike fear into their little Yankee hearts. Of course, I shall not be daunted by this. And of course the MG42 right here in this building is going to present itself as a very tempting target for my mortar team, which I do believe is going to open up at this very moment. And one very good shot, flinging one gunner right out through the window. Not looking good for that MG42 team, in fact. Pulling back, might want to retreat fully, and there we go. Mortar rounds continue to land, and this pack is looking in a bit of an awkward situation. Could be hit. Grenadiers though charging in from the south. Fawkes is taking up position there, and what is this? Apparently the Bodenständige Grenadier division has somehow managed to steal a half-track from someone and managed to bring it onto the field. How that happened, I cannot say. Perhaps they found it under repairs, or perhaps it was abandoned and someone put it together, who knows. And 30 caliber machine gun up from me, keeping those Fawkes grenadiers inside the building. But what is this? The half-track moves in from the south, Grenadiers inside, and oh dear, that's a bit of a bad move there, using a larger combat unit to man the guns. That's not really the most efficient thing. Again, generally you want pioneers or some engineers to man your half-tracks guns, that way they can also repair it after it has been damaged. But let's continue this heavy machine gun in a bit of a twist here, in a bind, but the half-track apparently ignores it and also ignores the ability of the 30 caliber armor piercing round. And there we go, tearing through the light armor of the half-track, almost knocking it out. And sounds like a Fawkes grenadier team has also been lost. The half-track continues, damaged engine, 30 caliber and BARs blazing away, hoping to knock out this half-track, but apparently this is the half-track that just can't get out of there. Despite the heavy damage, despite the entire cabin riddled with bullets and blood, although the Grenadiers seem to be doing rather nicely considering all that. Had that up in. And looks like this half-track is pulling away. Mortar rounds though landing away, hoping to catch this half-track, but it will only be catching the infantry right near it. Riflemen continuing to fire away with their BARs. Mortar was well joining in. Veterancy 1 now on it. And flamethrowers scorching these Grenadiers. And a mortar round landing right in front of them. Looks like this entire Grenadier team might be killed. There we go. A kill and Veterancy 1 for this Rifleman team. My goodness. And Engineers going straight for this cutoff point, and also alerting me to the fact that there's a medic bunker, which is going to be a rather primary target for my mortar team as soon as I can get close enough, although these Grenadiers have taken up position in the postal office and have gone postal with their Panzerschrecks. Goodness gracious, that was a bit of an alliteration. And Engineers continuing to do a bit of harassment, not stopping there with the cutoff point, in fact cutting off the entire Wehrmacht army from the fuel points in the town. Although it looks like he has gone for an observation post on this munitions point, but again, that's not going to help him with this strategic point in the hands of the Americans. In fact, I'm currently holding most of the map, since of course he's been utterly focused in the west. Barely any infantry to really push through. In particular now he's lost one Fawkes Grenadier team and a Grenadier team. And I'm of course keeping up the pressure, no matter the cost, slowly inching forwards with heavy machine guns and mortars. The mortar probably now going to be firing away at this medic bunker to prevent any further help for those wounded German troops, and laying down a mine right here on the road. Always a bit of fun, and looks like the half-track is on the move again, dashing through. And Fawkes Grenadiers taking a bit of fire from this 30 caliber machine gun. The half-track as well, armor piercing rounds once more, tearing through the light armor. And the Fawkes Grenadiers once more coming under fire from the 30 caliber, once more being killed. Mortar rounds also landing in just for the fun of it. And another medic station is up, hopefully with a slightly longer lifespan. Riflemen charging in, although rather heavily wounded and getting gunned down there by the MG42. They will have to retreat, and grenades have been researched. Pineapple grenades flying, Fawkes Grenadiers retreating, mortar rounds flying, and people are dying. My goodness. Getting a bit lyrical here. Riflemen once more moving in to attack from the west, having a rather large front where I can in fact choose to attack from. I could attack from here, here, or here, and I'm currently going to be attacking from the lower point of this part, so of course that's a lot of fun for me again, due to the fact that he sort of let himself be penned in this area. Grenadiers though are reconstituted from the medic bunker, and the mortar might soon open fire once more to knock out this medic bunker. But looks like our Wehrmacht friend might be going for the King Tiger, Königstiger. Pride of the fatherland, and our Grenadier team was forgotten right here and killed by a rifle team. That was rather unfortunate for him. Veterancy 2 now, making that much more deadly. And the half-track once more moves in to try and deal with this 30 caliber, but the 30 caliber is not stopped awake this time. In fact, it was. Half-track continues its moves. Running into some riflemen with BARs. And an anti-tank gun is on the way, and the half-track gets out of there rather swiftly. Grenadiers taking mortar rounds and flamethrower fire, while riflemen also join in the fight, and we are seeing a Sturm armory up. Half-track hitting a mine engine is absolutely destroyed. The Pioneers, he's finally using Pioneers to man it, repairing it swiftly, getting that engine at least functional again before it has to get out of there once more from all that nasty Yankee firepower. And now the Puma is on the move. Grenadiers taking mortar rounds and getting killed. The Puma opens up with his autocannon, and the MG42 joins in as well. Riflemen getting suppressed. MG42 team now getting hit by that mortar team. The mortar team is doing absolutely a lot of fun to the German positions, killing, suppressing, and basically keeping them back, while I am slowly inching forwards. The 30 caliber once more moving forwards, and the medic station pulling in any wounded it can get. Puma moving in for a flank, but right into the arc of fire of the anti-tank, or at least it could have done. But there's also the 30 caliber with its armor-piercing rounds. Puma taking a bit of fire from all sides. 30 caliber opening up, and looks like the Puma might though get away with only a bit of damage. There we go. Rather good move there, although we didn't really manage a lot of kills, only 2. And it's not certainly going to stop the advance of the American forces. The 2nd Infantry Division will have to meet more than Pumas to be stopped. And a Nebelwerfer be joining in. Nebelwerfer Batterie. Always good. And there we go. Boom goes the medic bunker as the mortar rounds incessantly continue to rain down upon it. And now the Nebelwerfer fires back in a rather short answer. T-17 on the move, and looks like there's a rather nasty hit on the riflemen and engineers. And then apparently every other rocket hits pretty much nothing. Again, this is, and in fact it's time for a mid-game analysis, but this is something rather to do again with all-map artillery, which again is factored in by how far away it is from the target. And if you can actually see it, in this case he probably couldn't see it, which rather meant that he had a rather huge spread on his Nebelwerfer. On the other hand, had he been closer, or for example had there been some sort of visual range, a unit acting as a spotter, he would have gotten a lot more accurate barrage there. So keep that in mind. But what is the current situation for Wehrmacht friend? He's currently penned in the town, whereas I'm currently holding most of the map. Otherwise, he's rather pressured. He doesn't have a lot of infantry. In fact, it looks like he's lost only 2 infantry teams, some Pioneers, a Nebelwerfer, a Pack, and a Puma, and that half-track. He has a bit of mechanization, a bit of support, but he doesn't really have much infantry to really carry the punch. And of course, I have a lot of things to really make things nasty for his half-tracks and for his armored cars with a T-17 on the field as well. I basically need to keep the pressure up, keep attacking him from other angles, and really make it harder for him to establish a decent defensive line, or even a strong point, which is rather doing quite well at the moment. In fact, let's return to me. Of course, I am infantry doctrine now, and I have the how to shoot readied, although I'd still prefer to call it a how to barrage. Grenadiers getting hit by the 30 cal machine gun. No, the Nebelwerfer wasn't firing off. I could have sworn I heard it, but the mortar is ready nearby to land death upon those Grenadiers out in the open. But Pioneers looking to make a flank, and the Puma once more moves in, but it has gotten hit. And now the T-17 is ready to make things hard for the Puma, and it gets stunned by white phosphorus rounds, and the anti-tank gun opens up. Puma is lost. Pioneers flanking the 30 caliber and the mortar. They will have to get out of there, and perhaps that T-17 needs to support. Come on. And 30 caliber turns around a bit too late though. T-17 knocks out a Pioneer team, the one with the minesweeper. Flamethrower team though is still there and could do some nasty things to that MG team. And there we go, killing 2 with 1 burst, and the last one is killed. Mortar rounds land, howitzer rounds I mean, landing here, hoping to knock out that pack, but it does not succeed. In the meanwhile, engineers are continuing through here, ready to make some moves. Riflemen recrew this 30 caliber machine gun, and those grenadiers are right in the line of fire. Grenades being thrown. Oh dear, get those riflemen out of there. And oh dear, heavy losses, and the T-17 could also do with being a bit closer. 30 caliber once more retreats, I wager. There we go. T-17 opens up. Nebelwerfer rounds once more, hitting everything but a target, burning the postal office and any letters there might be, or any postal parcels with food or cookies. Who knows? Though probably not any kittens. Mortar slowly advancing, riflemen moving in, and grenadiers right out in the open in negative cover against infantry with the BARs. That's rather an unfortunate move. Western victory point now falling in as well. Things are really not looking good for the Wehrmacht commander, despite his Nebelwerfers, MG42s and everything else. But again, lack of infantry. Grenadiers getting torn apart out in the open. And mortar rounds now landing here, hitting the pack, but not the MG42. Bit unfortunate. Another Puma getting out, another Sonderkraftfahrzeug 234. Apparently being called in from an armored division. Could be the Panzerlehr or the 12th SS. Could be they were out on a training maneuver, who knows, by the time. 30 caliber ready once more, and Rangers being made ready. Huzzah. And what is this? Going for a howitzer, yes indeed, 105mm howitzer. And the mortar receives veterancy 2. T-17 moving in to deal with this Puma, and looks like my anti-tank gun got wrecked. Puma getting stunned once more. And we are seeing this half-track taking up position here as a forward reinforcement point. Nebelwerfer firing away. Riflemen reinformed from the medic station. And something tells me this howitzer will soon be opening up here, since there's an MG42 nearby. Riflemen pushing onwards. Pack has been recruited, but it's now getting recruited once more. And there we go. Howitzer rounds flying. Misses.
We're losing a fuel sector.
Hits the building. Again, the building absorbs any fire, thus protecting this bit a bit at least. And the howitzer seems to be unable to hit anything at the moment. False grenadiers and riflemen seizing points right here next to each other. Grenadiers moving in awfully close to a mine. And this howitzer barrage, the first one, seems to have done very little. And a little tip for you artillery users: I usually keep it on a hotkey like 5 so it doesn't mess up with any other ones. And thus I always have artillery ready at my fingertips, and then it's basically always just about pressing B, which stands for bombard, and having a bit of fun. Of course you don't have to do it like that, but that's rather how I do it, and I find it as a rather handy system in terms of artillery, just to have it ready at a fingertips press. And the grenadiers hit the mine after having taken the victory point. A bit unfortunate there for me, but almost fortunate for the Wehrmacht commander. And looks like we are seeing some riflemen counter-attacking. Grenadiers out in the open, not looking good for them, getting torn apart by the BARs, veteran riflemen and all. Apparently they make it out of there, partly. MG42 hiding here, half-track as well. Might see another howitzer barrage. There we go. Having spotted this half-track acting as a strong point. And there we go. Building is knocked out. Can no longer provide as much protection, although it can still absorb some fire from the northern fronts. But at the same time, any howitzer rounds will be able to fly over it now much more easily. And there we go. Half-track is lost to the artillery. This MG42 is as well. And the Pioneers barely make it out of there. Very nice shot there from the artillery. Pack and Nebelwerfer holding the line, but no MG42, and very little infantry otherwise as well. Pioneers moving forward. And what is this? Königstiger, King Tiger on the move. That which I have feared has now arrived. Of course, I'm not aware of this. Of course, so when I see this, it's going to be quite a surprise, in particular since I have absolutely no anti-tank assets to actually hold it back. That generally tends to be the best of surprises. If you're a Wehrmacht player, your opponent has no anti-tank, and you get a King Tiger, then he's absolutely screwed. Well, not necessarily, but it's certainly going to be an awfully unpleasant experience. This mortar will have to get out there. Getting hit by Nebelwerfer fire, and the King Tiger kills the Veterancy 2 team. Oh dear, oh dear. But the T-17 is on the move. Veterancy 1 sandbags and everything moves in. What can it do to the King Tiger? What can it do? White phosphorus round, and it stuns the King Tiger. It might not do much, but it might delay the King Tiger at least until they get some anti-tank guns out on the field. And of course it might also render the King Tiger a bit of a target for Nebelwerfer fire. T-17 taking fire from the pack, but it managed to avoid it. King Tiger though continuing its path of destruction through Allied lines. Medic station knocked out, and howitzer rounds begin flying at the King Tiger, doing absolutely no damage. T-17 continues its run from the King Tiger, dodging shots as its own shot basically bounces off the frontal armor of the King Tiger.
Composition B is in.
Sticky bombs getting made ready. King Tiger continuing to advance. The T-17 once more moving in to fire off a bit of white phosphorus round to make that King Tiger feel that something worse is going on, that the engine has caught fire, as you generally don't want to be in a tank where anything is on fire, since that means the munition will very soon be going up as well. Sticky bombs on the King Tiger, will that do anything? In the meanwhile, we are seeing the 30 caliber securing the eastern victory point, Grenadiers securing the western victory point, and the King Tiger did not get its engine damaged. That was rather unfortunate for him. A bit unfortunate for me, but now the anti-tank gun is ready to fire shots into the King Tiger, forcing it away, since it does not want to fight the anti-tank gun head-on. Although, mind you, a single King Tiger against a single anti-tank gun, in particular if that anti-tank gun has no armor-piercing rounds, is going to be in the favor of the King Tiger. King Tigers and Tigers can reasonably well deal with anti-tank guns, in fact. Keep that in mind, although of course you shouldn't be completely foolhardy and just rush them in, but be aware you can use them to basically knock them out with not too much difficulty. And these riflemen are getting suppressed by the King Tiger. Grenadiers with an MG42 probably not going to do much. Riflemen getting torn apart by grenade fire, will have to retreat, and the howitzer once more fires at the King Tiger in the hopes of doing something nasty to it. Riflemen continuing to take fire from the King Tiger and retreats. The howitzer basically provides covering fire for the retreat as well, I suppose. Nothing in the east. The east is pretty much American, and this bit of the town is certainly being pulverized. Slowly the King Tiger retreats, not wanting to be an artillery target, but certainly looking a bit better for him now with the arrival of the King Tiger on the field. Grenadiers moving in with the LMG-42 again. I doubt that's going to do much, in particular since he's moving it about. In particular when he's also then running straight into BAR fire, and a grenade lands right amongst them. And those grenadiers are getting torn apart. LMG-42 fires, doesn't do an awful lot to these riflemen. In particular with Veterancy 1. And looks like this grenadier team might be lost on the retreat.
Enemy unit
And there we go, Veterancy 2 for the riflemen, which also increases sticky bomb range, which is always nice. Nebelwerfer fires, what to hit? Apparently in the east, and keep that 30 caliber out of the way, but it doesn't really hit. Again, no line of sight and a bit too far away.
One of ours.
And the King Tiger seems to be the main defensive asset of the western part. Anti-tank guns and riflemen moving in. MG-42 coming from the church. That was rather unfortunate for me. And the howitzer fires away, knocking out the Nebelwerfer. A bit of counter-artillery fire, and of course that was a bit of a mistake on my opponent's side. When dealing with an opponent who has artillery and you have Nebelwerfers, you generally want to shift about your Nebelwerfers with some regularity, so it don't get exposed to counter-artillery fire, which just happened there, which cost him a Nebelwerfer. Let's return to Mr. Fawkes a bit, in fact. Rifleman might sticky that King Tiger. Anti-tank gun continues to fire away into the side of the King Tiger, perhaps with armor-piercing rounds. No sticky bomb there. Will this be the one that damages the engine? No. That is one rather fortunate engine. Of course, the mechanic inside the King Tiger could just be very, very good. Well, whoever handles the engine. Clever Hans, I suppose. And an off-map combat group, lots of anti-tank guns. Another 30 caliber and some infantry, but no tank destroyers, which I'd rather hope for here. Some mobility to deal with this rather slow King Tiger. But then again, a lot of anti-tank guns is not to be scoffed at. Volksgrenadiers holding the line. Apparently he got some fresh Volksgrenadiers. Or have they survived all this time? Can't say. Grenadiers and Volksgrenadiers in the east. T-17 moving in, opening up on these Volksgrenadiers. Riflemen as well. Volksgrenadiers getting cut down to 3 men already, in fact. And the King Tiger moves in to save everything in the east single-handedly. And once more right into the line of fire of my anti-tank guns, armor-piercing rounds. Which means that in fact the anti-tank gun can do more than a King Tiger. 30 caliber also firing away. King Tiger doesn't do an awful lot with the first shot. The anti-tank gun continues to just hammer into the King Tiger. Second one also joining in as well. King Tiger heavily damaged by now. And these grenadiers are slowly getting whittled down. And apparently these false grenadiers are still hanging about. And artillery firing away, hoping to knock out that King Tiger, but not succeeding at all. And of course the King Tiger was in fact built to withstand a direct artillery barrage from heavy artillery. So that was of course a rather fun thing, although of course it did get a bit uncomfortable while you were inside that artillery barrage. Grenadiers clearing out the 30 caliber, but a large American counterattack is already on the move. 30 caliber and riflemen with BARs really doing a lot of damage to these riflemen grenadiers, I mean out in the open. King Tiger receiving a lot of repairs. Only 50 points left for the Wehrmacht commando, who is in fact currently in the process of securing all 3 victory points. But for how long? And at what cost, in fact, losing another Fawkes Grenadier team. Grenadiers not looking too well either. In fact, these chaps are getting blown to bits out in the open. The King Tiger continues to fire away in the hopes of holding back the Allied forces. But so do the anti-tank guns. They get ever closer with their nasty armor-piercing rounds. And what shall happen now? The howitzer fires once more. Where does it fire? Right here once more, hoping to catch that King Tiger. And I really should have realized that I'm not going to have much luck with that. Although I do manage to kill that Pioneer team. Grenadiers continually being thrown in, apparently relying only on Grenadiers now to support his King Tiger. No more naval werfers, no Stooks, no armored cars, no anything. Anti-tank gun cleared out, but these Grenadiers are caught out in the open in a hailstorm of gunfire.
We have only 50 points in reserve, and even this is
Eastern victory points once more in my hands. Anti-tank gun firing away. Anti-tank gun ready here to protect in case the King Tiger moves there. Looks like this anti-tank gun might be cleared out by riflemen. Not looking good for the Bodenständige Grenadier division, despite having a King Tiger on call in. There we go. Anti-tank gun cleared out. Grenadiers marching in now, apparently also with an LMG-42 besides that Panzerschreck. Fresh Pioneers ready to repair that King Tiger, which is not in a good condition. And another off-map combat group, now with a Hellcat and a T-17, an anti-tank gun and some riflemen. Rather nice combination here. And the Hellcat already upgraded with the 50 caliber machine gun. Looks like we are seeing some Grenadiers charging in, guns blazing. Riflemen holding the line, and the T-17 moves in. Veteran T2 opens up on these Grenadiers, who are firing a grenade, but another T-17 moves in, and the Hellcat opening up with all guns blazing. 50 caliber also firing away. These Grenadiers taking quite a bit of fire, taking some losses in fact. Taking heavy losses in fact, down to already 4 men out of 8 originally. And there we go, Eastern victory point is mine. And artillery opening up on the church, hoping to clear out those MG-42 gunners. So I can take this victory point and really open up a new flank, which is only going to leave that King Tiger even harder pressed to do something to save the situation for the Bodenständige troops. And riflemen ready. Anti-tank guns also joining in to fire away at this church, hoping to collapse it. Either way, I'm going to get that church, I say. And now a bit of quiet. The German forces have been absolutely devastated. And the King Tiger is in dire need of repairs, although halfway through. Most of the map is still currently in the hands of me, and he is still currently not really with most of the territory. MG-42 advances closely for some reason, right into the hands of the Americans with the BARs. This is not good. Gets into the postal office, but one grenade right through the frontal window, and that MG42 might be lost. And Grenadiers charge in. LMG42 opens up. Doesn't do an awful lot. MG42 here cleared up by a grenade, meaning of course this point is also available for me to take. Grenadiers taking heavy losses. And this victory point being secured. King Tiger advances with all dread and terror. Opens up with the high velocity 8mm gun, but hits the parapet instead. Grenadiers trying to take this victory point in the east, but getting torn apart. And the western one being secured as well. Riflemen holding on in the face of everything. There we go. All 3 victory points in the hands of the American forces. And the Grenadiers are just suffering. They managed to clear out the Hellcat, but that's about it. More howitzer rounds landing in. And there we go. The fight is over. The 2nd Infantry Division has pushed through the lines of the 706th Bodenständige Grenadier Division. Despite their marvelous, powerful King Tiger, they were unable to press through. So what can we learn from this? Well, on the beginning on, he did have a rather nice move there, but as soon as I began getting some further pressure on, he rather isolated himself in one half of the map where he figured, oh right, I'll be able to hold that. But of course he forgot the bit that it also allowed me a greater area of movement to basically strike where I wanted, and I was rather good at using that, also using my mortars and 30 caliber machine guns to also really make it harder for his half-tracks to actually get anything decently done. So I mean, for Americans, using mortars and heavy machine guns can be quite well if you of course know how to use them. Mines did some quite nasty things, in particular to me, so of course using mines always good, no matter the side you're on. Getting mines is a pretty good thing. We also saw some interesting use of barbed wire, but it didn't really come to any greater effect in the long run. Of course we also saw the effect of placing a bunker behind a building. It can have a nice effect of course unless mortars appear. But at the same time, I really think his problem was that he basically allowed himself to be isolated in this small area, and he wasn't really able to push through. He had too little infantry to really help push the main effort within a half-tank or a Puma to support it, which rather led things to be a lot more difficult for him. And I think that was what in the long run rather lost him the fight. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this fight. If you did, why not subscribe or tell your friends? And if you didn't, well, why not send a replay of your own? This is ImperialDane saying, remember, try not to get penned in one part of the map, in particular if it's a rather tiny one. Cheers.